Hello and welcome. My name is Peace Mitchell and I'm co-founder of Osmompreneur and the Women's Business School. Before we begin today, I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that I live and work on, the Mamu people of North Queensland. And I pay my respects to traditional owners and elders past and present right across Australia and the Torres Strait. Well, thank you for joining me here today. We are very excited to be launching our new book, Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy. And today I have some of the authors of this book joining me to talk a little about their chapter and what they have written about in this beautiful book. So I'd love to begin by introducing our first author, Jo Stevens, to join me on stage. Welcome, Jo.
Hello everybody. Hi, Peace.
Hey, Jo, it's lovely to have you here. Now, Jo, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
So my name is Jo Stevens. My business is The Zen Zone. We provide mindfulness programs to support your mental well-being, and we do this through a breathing movement technique. And our goal is actually to provide the workplace with tools to support their mental well-being. And we have programs that can teach you to reduce that inner dragon, release that stress and that overwhelm by the breathing movement techniques. And you can find us at thezenzone.com.au.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jo. Now, Jo, tell us a bit about your chapter.
So my chapter actually really talks about my journey with mental health. I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety nearly 7 years ago now, and it just kind of came at a point when my husband actually was diagnosed with PTSD, and even though it was a really difficult time going through that, the journey that I've gone through now, it's made me realize that my mental health has always been an ongoing issue and will always continue to be one. And that in my book, I talk about the reasons why I believe, and I really want to express that to people, that we need to have mindfulness tools to support ourselves when we're feeling stressed and overwhelmed.
Yeah, and mindfulness tools, they don't have to be things that take a lot of time or that we have to wear special outfits or have special equipment for. It can be really simple techniques, and that's what you specialize in helping people with, isn't it?
Yeah, to understand that it's actually not about sitting on the mountain on top, singing Kumbaya for hours and, and meditating for hours on end. Definitely not about that. And because in the beginning, that's what I thought it was all about. And I was a bit confused by what mindfulness would be. And, some people can be afraid of it's so woo-woo, taking yourself out of that comfort zone. But it's really just about calming the mind, taking that time for yourself, clearing your thoughts and just being present, because we're actually not present enough. We're all so busy all the time. There's these constant things happening that we don't actually get to quieten our minds and be present with our family and our friends.
So tell us about the techniques that you use, that you teach people about.
So my breathing movement techniques come from actually Qigong, shaking yoga, and mindfulness meditation. And I became a practitioner nearly 5 years ago now. And because at the time when I found Qigong, I was looking for something and I didn't know what I was wanting. But I realized I love the thought of yoga and Pilates, but the thought of actually touching my toes and standing in uncomfortable positions was not my thing. So then I found Qigong and the shaking yoga and the mindful meditation, and I call it Zen movements. And I put the program together. But what I found was, though, I was using there's 5 main breathing movements that I use a lot for myself. And I started utilizing that in my programs. I was doing a lot of workshops with women and classes. And then other people started saying, I love to use this movement because it can really help me when I'm feeling stressed and overwhelmed. And that's when I realized that, these are great, easy, quick and effective tools that you can use to calm yourself and to feel and be in the moment, especially when we're just We're on that edge. I call it my psycho Sybil. She This is my inner person that's about to come out and explode. And when I can feel that's happening, and I get that bit of self-awareness, I go, right, I need the dragon movement, which is what I call it. It's actually, the Qigong name is pulling down the heavens, but I like to call it the dragon movement, to breathe out that fire and let it go. And I think that's definitely what we all need, is just to be that self-aware when we're feeling that stress, and just using these mindfulness tools to come in and to release that inner dragon.
I love that so much. And it really is as simple as just taking a deep breath and being mindful about the way that you're breathing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And there is, like, as you said, mindfulness is not just about those techniques. There's been great gratitude. Gratitude's another great mindfulness tool. And, and finding, like, coloring in. I love to color in. There's all different things that we can do in our everyday lives just to bring that, that mindfulness technique in, just to, like, let us to calm down and to turn our thoughts off, because that's the thing. We're so overwhelmed and overloaded. We're not actually calming our thoughts and being in that moment.
Mm. And things like breathing, that's a technique that you can use, like if you're in a queue at the supermarket and you're feeling stressed. Like, it's something simple and
Absolutely.
easy that anybody can do. Is that
100%. I mean, like, with the dragon movement, it is about, like, we open up our arms and get that oxygen in. But I have a couple of clients, and I do this myself as well. If I'm standing in the line, or even like driving, I know it's probably a little bit scary to think about, but I will be visualizing myself. If I can feel like the tension's coming, I visualize myself opening up my arms, letting that oxygen in, and just calming that mind down. And just that's it, taking that deep breath in and out, and just letting, and calming yourself down.
Yeah, that's really powerful, but so simple to do. It's wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Joe. It's been wonderful chatting with you. How can people get in touch with you?
Well, you can find me at thezenzone.com.au, on Facebook as well, on Instagram, or even on LinkedIn if you want to follow me on there as well. And yeah, just love to reach out and connect with you at any time. So love to see you there.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Joe.
Thank you.
I'd love to bring our next author up to join me on stage now, B. Lim. Please join me, Dr. B.
Hi, Peace.
Hi, B. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. And I just want to say, like, it's been such an honor to be a co-author for this beautiful book.
It is. It's an amazing book, isn't it? It's wonderful. So, B, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and the work that you do.
So my name is B. Lim, and I'm a clinical psychologist and a well-being researcher. I'm also the founder of Mind Heart Collective, a private practice mental wellness clinic in Sydney. I'm deeply passionate about working with clients to unlearn the trauma in their stories, and also empower them to live lives that really honor their strength and vulnerability. I'm also a wife and a mother to a soon-to-be 5-year-old. And together we're working on the project, our passion project on meaningful play.
I love that. That's amazing. So, B, tell us a bit about your chapter in this book.
Mm-hmm. My chapter is actually called Do What Makes You Happy. It's a little bit of tribute to my father, who passed away from cancer early this year. And it also shared my personal stories of burnout and grief, and a framework that have helped me and many of my clients to recover from their burnout. My father was diagnosed with terminal cancer last year, and that really started the whirlwind of me applying for travel exemptions to leave Australia to be home to support him with his treatment. And as you could imagine, as soon as I arrived home out of quarantine, I started a new routine of attending oncology appointments, monitoring drug effects, seeing clients, managing my private practice, but then at the same time also trying to be really present and available for my son and my husband, who stayed behind in Australia as well. A few months into the new routine, I burnt out. I was so exhausted. There were days that I was not able to get out of bed. and health alarm system also started ringing as well. Something that I have not shared with many people is that I also live with an autoimmune disease that landed me in a coma when I was 17. So it's just a dark period in terms of my life, and in that chapter I really kind of share a bit more around personality types that are prone to burnt out from a professional perspective, and a lot of people that's watching this video and also on the panel as well potentially can resonate with the narrative of some of the personality types that are more perfectionistic, always striving to meet high internalized standards, and also can be like excessively self-sacrifice as well in terms of us meeting other people's needs and put our needs last.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot that you had to cope with when your father was so unwell and you flew over to spend time with him, but you were still managing everything with your business and your family back home. And the burnout sounds like it was very severe.
It was severe, but I think like with the personality type, before I started the journey of recovery, I think like I'm just thinking in terms of how many cup of coffee do I need to get me out of bed to be available to people that I want to support.
Yeah. And so tell us about the recovery process for you. What did that look like? What strategies did you implement to help you get better?
Yeah, I think that's my journey of recovery really started when I know that I don't have to just look like I'm put together. A mentor actually asked me the question, have you checked in with little B? And that really helps me to actually think about dedicating time to recognize that I have not been meeting my own needs, and also not being able to accept that I have needs that's worthy of being met as well. So I think like the turning point for me in terms of my journey of recovery is really embracing that vulnerability, and to be able to live that and know that it's not a weakness, it's not fragility, it's actually our superpower to allow us to become resilient and anti-fragile even, to when we unlearn that, unhook from those trauma stories in our lives and break away from the shackles of unreasonable, demanding expectations.
It's so interesting you were talking about different personality types, because some people do just naturally have really great work-life balance and they're able to go home from work and switch off and just relax. But other people, they're just always on. They're always thinking about work and new ideas and projects that they're working on. Can you talk to us a bit more about that?
Yeah, and I realize in terms of that personality types around that, very oftentimes when we think about perfectionism as a personality trait, actually I talk to my clients about it's not a bad idea to have high standards and wanting to actually strive to achieve. What is actually toxic about perfectionism is that when we set those standards and if we don't meet it, we're actually being very critical and see ourselves as we're not okay or we're not worthy because we're not working hard enough. So part of actually recovering from burnt out is changing that mindset to be able to actually see some of these challenges as we're not there yet. So have a bit more of a growth mindset around it. But also actually I talk about a bit more about that in the later part of my book as well, is actually thinking about our business, our work as play. Play is not the waste of time, it's not a luxury, it's actually a prerequisite for us to be able to do impactful work.
I love that. I love the reframing of work and thinking in the way that you think about it. Is that what you mean by play? And tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, you can tell that I'm a psychologist if you read the chapter, because I also introduce a number of play personalities in the chapter as well. This is not something that I have come up with. Someone, a psychiatrist in the United States, actually talked about that in his books, and he's the president of National Institute of Play, which sounded so cool. But it's talking about actually really understanding our personality and understanding our play personality and choosing activities that will truly reinvigorates and nourishes our soul. So an example that I often give people will be that there's a play personality that's called explorer in there. So basically it's talking about someone who enjoys new experiences and enjoy new learnings. I'm an explorer. But there's another personality type that is around more kinesthetic. So someone that is more enjoy physical movements, going out for runs and engaging in physical activities. So to encourage someone like me to do physical activities, you need to actually really motivate my explorer personality. So if you were to tell me that if you walked 3 kilometers or 30 kilometers and you'll be on this mountain and you'll be able to see this beautiful, wonderful sunrise, then I will be able to do that. And so we are actually thinking about play personality as a way to motivate and also a way to help people build lives that are really aligned with themselves, rather than just keep working and trying to strive for a goal that might not be meaningful to them underneath. Yeah.
I love that so much. That's really cool. It's a great way of looking at it. Yeah.
Yep, I definitely hope that people go and check it out and look at the play personality. And I'll be curious to hear about people's play personality as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Bea. It's been wonderful chatting with you and having you as one of our authors in this book. How can people get in touch with you if they want to reach out?
Right. So I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram as Dr. Bea Lim. And they can also find me on www.mindhealthcollective.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bea.
Thank you, Peace.
I'd now like to welcome our next author, Mirendi. Please join me on stage. Hey, Mirendi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Now, Mirendi, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and the work that you do.
Wow. Well, my name's Mirendi. I am an exercise physiologist. I'm a health coach and I'm a holistic healer, and I'm also a business strategist too. So I have a few different hats that I wear. I guess I've been working in the health and wellness industry now for 25 years. And I guess in the last 10, 15 years, I've been moving more into supporting and coaching other women in health to start their own businesses. So I guess, yeah, I come with a lot of wisdom in terms of ensuring people can improve and maintain their health, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally.
Yeah, amazing. And tell us about your chapter, Mirendi.
Yes, well, my chapter, essentially I call it Stepping Back to Step Up. I guess the premise of it is about self-care, because I guess, my background is I'm a single mum to 5 children. I've gone through quite a lot of life events in the last 11 years. So I found during that time that self-care was probably quite important, because I guess being a mum, you tend to put yourself last and put everyone else's needs first. But I guess through the various different life events that I've experienced, such as my dad passing away, my nan passing away, going through a marriage breakup, DV situation, loss of a business, all of that, I learnt pretty quickly that if I wasn't taking care of myself, then no one else was going to help me or help take care of me. So I had to learn very quickly easy but simple self-care tasks to just help me, I guess, get through the day, the week, the month, that type of thing.
Yeah,
so,
that's a lot of
what I
challenges.
share.
Yeah, it's a lot of challenges that you faced. I know you've got twins as well, and those 5 kids. So
yeah, and going through from childhood, now experiencing teen, early adulthood, it's a totally different ball game now.
Yeah. Now, you talk about the importance of self-care. What does self-care look like for you?
Well, this is something that I guess I've had to learn, because I guess I don't want to say the old days, but people have this perception that self-care is, about treating yourself to a pamper, getting a massage, getting your nails, toes done, getting a facial, that sort of thing. Whereas, I had to, reteach myself, and even, my clients as well, to say that self-care is so much more than pampering yourself. Self-care can, evolve many different activities, from just, sitting and having a cup of tea and enjoying that cup of tea without it going cold, to, meditation, even exercise. As I said, I'm trained as an exercise physiologist. We were never taught at university that, yes, exercise is used as a rehabilitation tool to recover from injury or health conditions, but actually exercise is self-care. By taking care of yourself and exercising regularly, it's keeping your body healthy. So I guess, on my own journey and now sharing with my own clients, it's trying to teach people that self-care is so much more than, looking pretty or making yourself feel good. It's about doing activities that bring you joy, that bring you peace, that help calm you down. I guess a good example I often share with people is I had a client once who had high blood pressure, and the doctor had asked her to monitor herself with the blood pressure monitoring machine, and she said to me, one day I forgot to do it. I was supposed to do it every morning. I was in my room doing some quilting, so I thought I'll take my blood pressure, and she was really surprised to find that quilting reduced her blood pressure. So you've got this anecdotal information coming through to say that, just doing something that brings you joy, whether it is an art and craft activity or gardening or bushwalking, can actually help improve your mood. So that's how I'm, going about it now, re-educating people on what self-care is.
That's really powerful, isn't it? The fact that it can be anything, but what feels good for you can be completely different from what self-care and what feels good for someone else might be. Yeah.
Totally. So I think, people have got to realize, don't listen to what others say is self-care. It's what you feel is self-care for yourself. Even if it's, especially new mums, if you're able to get yourself and have a shower and get dressed for the day, that's your self-care activity for that day. It makes you feel so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, you touched on it before, the fact that as a society, we've kind of been conditioned to just be working and doing things all the time, either for, for work or cleaning the house or looking after the children. And that taking time for ourselves is sometimes seen as a selfish thing to be doing. And finding time. So do you have any tips for how to find that time to spend on self-care? I mean, you've got 5 kids, so, I'm sure that you would be one of the busier people.
Yes, well, I've had people say to me, like years ago, someone said to me, you need to get up early and do meditation. Well, for me, that's just not, I don't think that's achievable. So again, I say to people, all you need to do is just find 10 or 15 minutes in your day, whether it is first thing in the morning or maybe it's during the day or maybe it's the last thing at nighttime. Find a time that suits you, and it doesn't have to be the same time every day. I think that's the other thing that people think, that you've got to be doing self-care tasks at the same time to make it a habit. No, just, finding 10, 15 minutes in your day to do something for yourself, whether it is just removing yourself from technology, turning the phone off, moving away from your computer, sitting outdoors and eating your lunch and being mindful about eating your lunch. Or it could be just taking 10 minutes to stand outside on the ground, putting your face up into the sun. Like I said earlier, it could be just actually taking time to enjoy your cup of tea or coffee and not drinking it whilst you're working or on the way to work. My advice is just finding 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes in your day to do something for yourself. Again, it could be, if you're able to get in and have a shower uninterrupted, that is a winner for a lot of people. So it can be something different every day. I think that's the other thing. People feel it's got to be the same activity every day, and no, it doesn't have to be. but if you want it to be a regular ritual, then by all means, book it in your diary of what it is that you want to do. But, our days are varied. Some days are busier than others, but just being able to find that few minutes to just center with yourself. It can be even just doing some simple breathing exercises too. I think that's a major issue we have these days is people are suffering a lot of anxiety and panic attacks totally unnecessarily because we just can't switch off because, like you said, we're constantly on 24/7 with technology, phones, computers. By just taking, that short time just to, relax the mind. I was told by a psychologist a few years ago, I interviewed for a podcast, and he had tea leaves in his water bottle, and he shook it up and he said, shake it up, sit it there and watch the tea leaves spin around and slowly settle to the ground. And he said that in itself is a self-care mindfulness activity because it's taking, switching your brain off from what you're doing and just focusing on that particular moment in time. And that I just found an absolute, I don't know what the word is, an epiphany, I guess, to say it is. It's just as simple as just taking your focus off what you're doing and focus on something else for, 10, 15 minutes, whether it's even just watching the clouds in the sky or watching the children play or, just watching the world go by. Sometimes you just got to switch off. I think people think self-care tasks, you've got to be keeping yourself active all the time, and it doesn't have to be at all. It's sometimes just, switching off.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that example of the water bottle with the tea leaves. And it can be as simple as that. Yeah, just taking that moment to stop and slow down. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, it's been wonderful chatting with you, Mirendi. Thank you so much. If people want to get in touch with you, how should they find you?
Oh, you can find me everywhere and anywhere. Essentially, you could Google my name and you'll find me. But I've got two websites, mirendi.com.au and authentichealthpreneurs.com. And I'm on all social media platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Even Pinterest.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Mirendi. It's been wonderful chatting with you today.
Thank you.
I'd now like to welcome our next guest, Fleur.
Hey, Peace. It's lovely to see you.
Yeah, you too. Now, Fleur, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are.
Sure. My name's Fleur Chambers. I'm a meditation teacher. I'm the creator of the Happy Habit meditation app. I'm also an author of a book called 10 Pathways. And at the moment, my business is turning into a social enterprise, which is really exciting. So 50% of profits generated from my business are going towards clean drinking water for schools in Bangladesh.
That's amazing. Oh, wonderful
so that's really exciting.
Yeah. Now tell us about your chapter, Fleur.
I just chose to share a really simple story that I hoped many people could relate to. It was when I had 3 very small children and was trying desperately to be the perfect mother, trying desperately to control life, to micromanage the small details, to create a space for my kids to be happy all the time. And what was happening was I was holding on to life so tight that I was just in this state of fear. And it wasn't only in my own body. It was like I'd put on a pair of glasses that just meant everything I saw out in the world felt like it was tinted with fear. So people were telling me stories in playgrounds that were really sad and deeply affecting me. I'd watch the news and those stories would stay with me. So I shared this experience of feeling like a tree without roots, just being knocked about by the external world. And that really was a situation I got myself in because I was holding on so tight to life, and that desire to be a perfect mum, that desire to make my kids happy all the time was just creating a sense of stress in my body and fear. And so I was really hoping that the reader would just become more aware of the price we pay for being busy. And so when we're so busy, when we're micromanaging, the world feels like a really scary place because we're trying to control it. And we can feel that within our own bodies, but we can also feel it in the world. We're just on high alert. We're on the lookout for that metaphorical lion that's prowling in the distance. And so we see people who are going to judge us. We hear really sad stories. We watch the news and we worry about the state of the world. So just being really conscious that busy ultimately leads to stress, which leads to a subtle or overt experience of fear.
So interesting. And I think something that so many people are experiencing right now and in the last year or two as well, that heightened state of anxiety and fear and just the uncertainty that has been around. But what are some of the ways that you cope with that, Fleur?
So I think at any point in your day, you can pause and ask yourself, am I being held in the energy of fear or love? And fear doesn't have to be, white knuckling it, pounding heart. Fear can be an overcritical mind, judging yourself harshly, blaming others, micromanaging the details of tomorrow, perfectionism. Fear can express itself in subtle ways. And love also doesn't have to be, head over heels. Love can be gratitude, compassion, a willingness to feel hopeful, forgiveness. And so at any point in your day, you can pause and just say, what energy is holding me in this moment? Am I held by love or am I held by fear? And you can take the courageous step into love. And that could be just a deep breath. It could be a cup of tea. It could be forgiving someone. It could be letting go of a conversation that didn't go to plan. And so I think that using love and fear as a compass can be really helpful.
I love that so much. I love the fact that we have the choice at any time to choose whether we go towards love or towards fear. I think that's really powerful. And I think it's something that people kind of aren't consciously choosing. They're just being led and thrown around by their emotions.
And so getting curious about what sits underneath busy, isn't it? Because often underneath busy is fear of not being enough. So I'm going to work harder. I'm going to do that next project. I'm going to be that thing to that person. I'm going to do all the things because then I'll be enough. Then I'll be safe. And so when we explore our actions from a place of enoughness, it's like if you woke up in the morning and looked at your to-do list and you actually said, okay, if I actually believed right here, right now, I was enough, which of these things would I cross off? If I thought I was a good enough mother and a good enough keeper of the house and the home, would I really vacuum the floor today? I'm not sure. Would I really feed the kids 5 vegetables or would 1 vegetable be enough?
But I love that we can ask those questions of ourselves, though. And I think that it's a really beautiful check-in to just say, what am I choosing? What does being enough look like?
Yeah. And the other practices I talked about in the book really is using your breath to invite in or let go. So at the beginning of your day, hop out of bed, put your feet on the ground and take a few deep breaths and feel the sense of expansiveness in your chest. So chest expanding in all directions. And you can ask yourself, what would I like to invite in today? And as you breathe in, literally inviting this thing in, be it peace, confidence, gratitude, love. And similarly, at the end of the day, you can hop into bed and go, what am I willing to let go? And use the out breath. Take a deep breath and really feel the air leaving your body. And are you willing to let go of the things you didn't get done, the conversation that didn't go to plan, the food you wished you hadn't eaten, the exercise you didn't get done? What are you willing to let go? And just seeing life as this sense of inviting in and letting go. And the more you can do that, the more able you are to be with the ebbs and flows of life. And it stops you trying to hold on so tight.
I love that so much. It's such a simple practice, inviting in the morning and then letting go at night. And just, yeah, that's really beautiful. Fleur, another practice that you talk about and do regularly is meditation. And that's been really powerful in your life and for the thousands of people who use the Happy Habit app as well. Can you tell us a bit about meditation?
Yeah. Most of the time we're resisting ourselves. We're wishing we were more organized, more funny, more interesting, more kind, more patient. We're wishing our life was more interesting, more peaceful, more organized, whatever. And so meditation really isn't about relaxing. It's about accepting yourself just as you are in that moment. It's like taking off that backpack with all those ideas that you have about yourself and how life should be, and actually just getting a sense of what life would look and feel like if you gave up the fight, if you just let go and accepted whatever was there for you. And amazingly, when we accept things, they have a way of working out. So I think meditation really is about seeing yourself more clearly.
And so you talk about creating a habit with meditation of a daily practice. 4 minutes a day is what your app is about. Can you tell us about the impact that creating a habit like that and doing meditation regularly can have on your life?
Well, eventually you take that feeling into your daily life. So I think a simple 4-minute meditation practice allows you to connect to the deeper parts of you, the parts of you who are wise, who are kind, who are enough. And then when you connect with that part of you, you remember it because deep down it's who you are. And then you're more able to show up like that in life. So it doesn't mean you'll never get cross, you'll never say something you regret, you'll never eat junk food, you'll never have a Netflix binge, but it just means you're more aware. So it's like there's some space between you and your response. So when you feel your energy getting sort of annoyed, or when you feel yourself getting sucked into habits you don't like, you can pause, take a breath, and remember that deeper aspect of you. So I think ultimately what a meditation habit gives you is awareness. Awareness gives you space. Space gives you freedom. Just to really unhook from all of those habitual patterns of behavior. And so the biggest one, I think, especially for busy women, is being able to pause before they react and say or do something that ultimately they'll regret. That's probably the most powerful tool, I think, meditation, the most powerful gift that meditation would give you, the ability to take a breath, come back into your body, come back into your heart, and ask yourself, how do I want to respond to this situation? Yeah,
that's amazing. And it's so simple. And Yeah, but has such a profound impact on your day and the way you live your life when you're able to respond and react in a calmer way.
Yeah, and in a way that's more in line with your values. And I think the other thing that meditation does is, well, what happened for me is I was actually lonely before I started meditation. It's a really strange thing to consider, given that I had so many people in my life that I loved. There was always a small person on my hip. I couldn't even go to the toilet on my own. So it wasn't that I was ever alone, but I was lonely. And what I realized that was a deep desire to connect with who I was really deep down. And I think a lot of women would feel that. They probably wouldn't describe it as loneliness, but there's something missing. And it's a connection with your deeper nature. And so I think meditation really allows you to connect with that person you are deep down inside. We often get all busy, think we need to do all these things in order to meet that version of ourselves. But the irony is we need to slow down and realize that that person's always been inside.
Oh, I love that so much. Well, thank you so much, Fleur. It's been wonderful chatting with you today. How can people get in touch with you?
They can get in touch on Instagram. So that's The Happy Habit with Fleur Chambers, or they can download the app for free, the Happy Habit app on the App Store or Google Play. And yeah, just have fun with meditation.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Fleur.
Thanks, Peace. I love chatting with you today.
I'd now like to welcome our next guest, Amanda Thompson. Hello, Amanda.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. It's wonderful to see you, Amanda. Now, Amanda, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to tell us a bit about who you are and the work that you do.
So I am Amanda Thompson, and I am the founder of Endurance Financial, which is a financial advisory business dedicated to helping women in their financial journeys. And you and I both know, Peace, how passionate I am about women understanding where they are in all money and finance related matters.
Yeah, it's so important. It really is. It really is. Now, Amanda, we're here today to talk about our new book, Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy. Can you tell us a bit about your chapter?
I can, and it's not anything really about finances, is it? Which is an interesting little take on me. I suppose the background to my chapter piece is I spent 10 plus years in corporate financial planning roles for two of our largest banks. And in that time, for the majority of time, I was the only female. And in amongst all that, I found myself quite sick and a single mum. You know, playing with all the boys was a really difficult thing. And so spending 10 years loving my job and trying to be someone that really deep down inside I wasn't. And Fleur talks about meditation. I think I found my meditation dressed in lycra. And for me, it took a very long time to realise that I'd spent 10 plus years being someone that wasn't true to who I was. And I call my chapter Identity Lost, Identity Found. So, you know, good 10 plus years later, and it took training and being in a really grueling physical space to realise that I wasn't the person that I'd become, and I wanted to go back to that ground zero of Amanda, who really wanted to be just Amanda and not any other, I suppose, stigmas or labels that anyone else put on me. So, and the other really, I suppose, important part for me of the book, it starts with a story about my grandfather who was fully blind from the age of 6 and managed to live such an amazing and giving life without really ever portraying to himself or anyone that he had a disability. And it took me a long time to come back to all the things that he taught me as a child.
I think he sounds like such an incredible role model in your life, an example of someone who shows you that nothing's impossible, that if you believe you can do it, then you can do it. Because he certainly proved that, didn't he? Even though he was blind, he still was able to do so much. It didn't hold him back at all.
Oh, time and time again. I mean, the stories, because only the other day I was chatting with my mum about the stories of him, in terms of him and his mate decided that they wanted to play cricket. So can you imagine how hard playing cricket was for two blind people? So they essentially, between the two of them, invented the cricket ball that now exists for cricket for the blind, which is, and I've got one at home, the bamboo with just the cowbells inside it. I still think it'd be quite funny watching them run around after that. But he just, as I said, that I said many a time, really the only indication that he was fully blind was that he didn't drive. Yet, honestly, when we were in a car with him, he would be telling my grandmother, turn left here, turn right at the next street, yet he knew exactly where he was. And then, again, the only other time would be when us lovely kids, what all kids are like, would put things in his way so he would run into them. And it's only as an adult, I think, I realised he knew exactly what was in front of him and just went banging into that just for our own enjoyment. And, so that kind of shows you the man that he was as well. And it took a long time. And I was out running one day and I just remember him all, just one day, Peace, all of these things that he taught came flowing back to me. And it was kind of the catalyst for Endurance Financial being born as well, because I knew I loved my job, but how it was being done where I was and who was in control and of what it wasn't resonating with me. It was making me sad. It really was. And when we talk about goodbye, busy, hello, happy, I was so busy trying to be what, the ideal planner at a bank and a successful planner at a bank would be. I lost track of what made me happy, and that was my clients and what I was doing. So,
yeah. And today we've talked a lot about self-care, but self-care looks different for you than it does for other people. Can you tell us about your self-care?
Oh, look, as I get older, Peace, it's becoming more and more like some of the others. Like says, Fleur would be happy to hear that I now try to get to yin yoga and sound bath healing at least once a week. To just clear my mind. But yes, so I do Ironman triathlons, which takes up between 10 and 15 hours a week of training. But I do switch off, and I find myself on a regular basis when I'm running or when I'm swimming, not so much when I'm riding, but it does bring me back to self, which means that the next day I do wake up and I do think about my day ahead and how lucky I am. And do you know what? I actually think every day how lucky my clients are to have me, because I think of the Amanda of the past and they were lucky to have me, but now I get to do it my way.
Yeah, it's amazing. And for people who don't know what an Ironman event looks like, it's basically you are running a marathon, but then after the marathon, there's more.
No, the marathon's the last, the other way around. So, it's a swim.
Marathon.
Yep. It's a swim, ride, run. It's a swim, ride, run. And there's lots of different distances, but obviously you can look right into my personality to say that I just signed up for an Ironman, which is the ultra one, just about, which is a 3.8 kilometre swim, a 180k bike ride, and a 42.2k marathon to finish it. But full disclosure, as I get older, there's probably not a lot left, not a lot of those left in me. So I now focus on the half Ironman, which is just basically half of those distances, and it's still 5.5 hours of a race.
Yeah, it's still a really long way. 180 kilometres. That's really far.
Yeah, it is. It's a really you're not allowed to be with anyone in a race. So essentially it's 6 hours on the bike with you, yourself, and your thoughts. So that's a whole different type of meditation.
6 hours of meditation. That's crazy.
While trying not to fall off or worry about what's a bit sore.
Yeah. And all that time in Lycra has taught you a lot of lessons about life too, hasn't it?
It has. I'm truly like the person that I am, and I love the way that I can bring all facets of my life and not so scared to talk about them anymore. In that my stories may help other people, and this is just one of them. And that confidence came from finding a love in triathlon, but I suppose finding myself in triathlon.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, it's been wonderful chatting with you today, Amanda. How can people find you if they're wanting to reach out?
Endurance Financial everywhere, whether it's Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook. Or on email. So it's amanda@endurancefinancial.com.au.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Amanda. Well, I'd love to bring all of our authors back up on stage as we say goodbye today. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here today. Thank you, everybody who's joined us live and watched our panel today. And thank you, everybody watching on the recording. I hope that you all go out and grab a copy of Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy. The link to order your copy is in the comments below at Facebook as well. So thank you so much to all of our authors, and we will see you all again soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Peace.
Thanks. Bye.